So, welcome back to Banned Book Week! It's one of my favorite times of the year. Banned Book Week 2023. So, I know it's been a while. Obviously, it's been almost a year. And, I mean, this has just kind of become my channel. I do Banned Book Week, a whole month in October of Halloween stuff. My Christmas box with Dalton, and then I just kind of disappear for another year, and that's just kind of my channel now. You know, this year, I mean, okay, like the last 3 years have been rough. This year has been no exception at all. I need to turn that fan down. I have continued working 2 jobs. I paid my 3-year car loan off in 14 months. In April, we lost Charlie. That was really hard. We got Penny, about a month ago. Penny? Yes, you. Penny? So, yeah, life has just been one crazy roller coaster sometimes I really like to get off of. Not in that kind of way. But yes, so Banned Book Week 2023. So I'm really excited about some of the books. I decided this year we're going to go in a different, I guess when I was looking back at it, I was like, how did I decide what order to do my book videos in? I couldn't remember. So this year I decided I'm going to do them from least liked to most liked. I figured get the hardest ones out of the way, because it's definitely not the order I read them in. The last book it's not even, I'm not even going to do them in any kind of order of how I read them. So yeah, you're going to hear Penny a lot in this video. She's a very talkative girl. So, just don't move the camera. We're back. Anyway, so I decided this year I'm going to do them from least cared for book to like my favorite that I read this year. So, this year, as you can probably tell from the title, we're going to start with Beloved by Toni Morrison. This is the first Toni Morrison book I ever read, and I was so excited because it was like, I love branching into minority colored authors. I have had a lot of luck with that in the last 2 years, especially River Solomon. Oh my god. So I was super excited, and then I learned, Penny, don't tip my camera over, that this was like about a haunted house, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so perfect. I love it. I'm so excited. Oh, and then I started reading it. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get a little more into Beloved. Okay, Beloved is written in 1987. It takes place in but yeah, it was written in 1987. And Penny, Papa, please. So it takes place in 1873. In Cincinnati, Ohio, and it revolves around Sethe, I think is how you say it. It's S-E-T-H-E, who is a reformed slave woman. She lives at, let me get the address right, 124 Bluestone Road. And she's lived there for years with her now 19-year-old daughter, Denver. And until recently, her mother-in-law, Baby Sug, I kept wanting to say Baby Shug. Maybe it's Baby Shug. Suggs. It is Baby Suggs. Anyway, there's a lot to go over with this novel. And so the thing about 124 Bluestone Road is that it's haunted. And is so haunted, in fact, that Sethe's other two boys, they took off when they were 13 because they couldn't handle. Penny, not my dress. I have a dress hanging up for a future video, and oh my goodness, chaos. I haven't filmed anything with Penny yet, so. Setha's other two boys took off when they were 13 because they couldn't handle seemingly the hauntings at 124 Bluestone Road. I mean, there's more to it. There's more trauma behind what really happened. Penny, ooh, filming with you is going to be fun. But anyway, they believe the ghost haunting 124 Bluestone Road is the ghost of Setha's infant daughter that died years ago, when the other children were much younger. And I mean, they've just kind of lived with it. Denver sees things occasionally. It's mostly like poltergeist activity, but like Denver has seen like apparitions. Yeah, so they kind of live with it. But one day, Paul D., who is also a reformed slave, who they worked with on a former plantation, knew Setha's husband, who is now deceased. Honey, you're making this very difficult. Don't make me lock you out. He shows up at 124 Bluestone one day and like reconnects with Setha, and they kind of see that there's kind of a romantic potential there. I mean, kind of right away they end up sleeping together, but yeah, there's chemistry between them. But right away when Paul D arrives, he kind of drives out the ghost, like exorcises it, yells at it, tells it to leave, and it seemingly works. The poltergeist activity quits, and it seems like the house is quiet. And there's kind of an immense relief. But a few days later, after Setha, Paula D., and Denver go to a fair nearby, on their way home, once they arrive back home, on the front porch is this girl in a black dress who is seemingly like the age that Setha's infant daughter would have been if she had lived. And this mysterious girl says her name is Beloved, which just so happens to be the only thing Setha could afford to have engraved on the tombstone for her infant daughter, because that's all she could afford. And this girl, Beloved, doesn't have any like information on where she came from, who she is. So yeah, it's just, and she kind of just ends up staying with them. And so things get really messy once Beloved stays there. I don't want to go into too many details, because if you haven't read the book and you want to read the book, I don't want to spoil too much. I might go into more details on other books this week, because I don't know, I enjoyed them more. I feel like they're more enjoyable. But for the sake of Banned Book Week, we're talking about books in general and why they were banned, if they should have been banned. So let's kind of stick to that. Beloved follows this family unit and this strange, mysterious girl that shows up on their doorstep, and just kind of what follows that, and kind of answering like where she comes from, but also kind of leaves it up to interpretation, like what you want to believe. But it gets so messy and ugly, but it does, I don't know, buried in there, it does kind of have some positive messages, like about love, and I don't know. Here's where I'll go over my thoughts on this book, and then we'll cover like why it was banned. This feels very messy, which goes along with the book itself. So, oof. I mean, that's just, yeah. So, I was so excited going into this book, and it's just, it was so hard to read. I'll start there. This book was incredibly hard to read because it switches not perspective. It switches writing styles on the same page, not even like paragraph to paragraph or chapter to chapter. Like, it will go from first person to third person on the same page. So it's so hard to read. It's just the language and it's just shifting perspectives. It's a very hard book to read. And so at times you're not even sure if you understand fully what's happening. Like, for real. Sometimes you don't even know if what you're reading and what you're processing are the same things. It was difficult. So yeah, and then it's not a happy book. It's not a spooky book. It's not, I don't know, it's just, I mean, I think it was what the author wanted it to be, but it's just, I don't know, I would not label it a very enjoyable book, which I feel awful saying, but it's just, that's what it is. It's just not a very enjoyable book to read. It was hard to get through. I'm not gonna lie. So let's go over the banned part about it. The banned part of it. So in 2007, it was banned in Kentucky for violence. 2012, it was banned in Missouri for violence, sexual acts that weren't appropriate for a 5th grade reading level, which I thought was a weird way to phrase it, but you know. 2016, in Virginia State Senate member called it moral sewage, violent, and sexually explicit. Now, these are just like highlights. I'm sure it has been banned many more places for many more things, but those are just some highlights. I would say this is definitely a high school reading level book. It is very graphic in violence, and a bit sexually speaking. There's some scenes between Setha and Paula D. I mean, they're not explicitly explicit. But there is something that happens to Setha before she escapes the initial plantation with some men. And I don't even really remember if it involves, like, a sexual assault. Well, okay, it does. But, I mean, like, rape. But, I mean, like, the other things they did to her was very, inappropriate. And then, the initial, like, what led to what was the cause of the infant's death, and like the trauma that really did lead the boys to run away, is very graphic. That was unexpected. So it's very graphic in a couple of different ways. So I would definitely say this should be high school reading level if it's going to be in schools. I mean, I'm sorry, but good luck getting a 5th grader to stay focused or interested in reading this. I don't know. It was rough. I had trouble. I love books and I love reading, and I really had struggled with this. So I just don't know. I don't know. I feel like in high school I would not have been able to read this just with my focus, and I don't know. So, I definitely understand some concerns that parents might have with this book, getting into some younger kids' hands, just because it's very violent, in more ways than one. So, I get it. But outright banning it out of, like, high schools and stuff, no, I would not agree with that. So, yeah. And I feel really bad this banned book year because my, like, top 2 spots for books I had a rougher time with are both women of color, and I feel really bad about that. But they were just the 2 books I enjoyed the least out of this year for banned book week. So, yeah. Alright, guys. I hope to see you back here tomorrow for banned book week day 2. Let me know what you guys thought of Beloved if you have read it or if you plan to read it. Yeah, it's just, it was definitely a journey for me. Alright, I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow.